What happens when you take one of the best beat-em-up games ever and bring it home to the Jag? I am the Game Collector, and this is Second Opinion Games, and today we do our review of Double Dragon 5 for the Atari Jaguar.
Second Opinion Games.
For those of you that don't know, Double Dragon was a side-scrolling beat-em-up, and it totally popularized the genre. When it got to number 5, though, it decided to switch to a one-on-one fighting game. It keeps the characters Billy and Jimmy Lee, and adds quite a few new ones, and doesn't seem to draw from the many other characters that it had in the previous games, like a Bobo, the person that I really wanted to play with the most. So, how is this fighting game? Well, I'm about to tell you. To start things off in the sound effects department, the music is pretty loud when you're in-game, and the effects are very, very weak. So, either turn off the music so you could hear the very weak effects, or just leave it as is. It's pretty bad. The music and the effects both are pretty bad. The music even starts to hurt your ears after a while, so please play this game sparingly in small doses. To start things off, the opening screen looks pretty good, and you immediately start to feel like you're going to be in for a great time. You could go in and customize a few things, change the clock to be infinite or 90 seconds or 30 seconds. Here's where I ran my first problem here, guys. Even when I set it for 90 seconds, I rarely finished off my opponent before time ran out. Which means most of the time is what ended up beating the other guy. If I wanted to speedrun this game, I set the matches for only 30 seconds. Then I could just fly through the whole game in just a couple of minutes, as there are 9 total characters that you're going to be playing against, 8 of which you can choose from. So at least there is some diversity here. But not to get too far ahead of myself, there is an option to change whatever button layout that you want. Well, not whatever you want. If you have a Pro Controller, you're going to think this game is absolutely great, because then I could set up the 3 punches and the 3 kicks to match my Pro Controller perfectly. It's not going to be that easy, though, because you could only attach buttons to the 3 and 6 and 9 on the number pad. The ZYX buttons on the Pro Controller are attached to 7, 8, and 9. This gets pretty frustrating. It doesn't let you attach them to 7 and 8. So you're really going to have to choose wisely in how you set it up. Take a look at how I set it up, with the C button being the medium kick and the B button being the medium punch, and the majority of the time, those are the only 2 buttons I use in the entire game. It really did simplify things and make everything a lot easier to play. When I tried to play it with the other play styles, things got a little hectic. So I strongly recommend sticking to 2 buttons to actually play the game. The backgrounds in every level are actually done fairly well, with a little bit of animation thrown in. I especially like this one level where there's at least 3 hot babes. It's pretty interesting, and I do enjoy the use of babes in my levels. There's another level where you see just a silhouette of a girl in the background in the window, and it seems a little creepy, but still enjoying babes. They also like to throw cool cars in there as well, and for some reason or another, Double Dragon is ripping off Mortal Kombat in the references. Well, it's ripping off a lot more than Mortal Kombat. Take this one purpley character. She looks like a cross between Street Fighter II's Vega, Melina from Mortal Kombat, and she even does a familiar kick from Street Fighter II as well. This is a giant ripoff, and pretty much what you can expect from a fighting game in the 90s. Everyone was ripping off Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter II, so it is what it is. Honestly, the entire best part of the entire game isn't even in the game. It's in the box that the game came with, and that's the instruction manual. It's laid out like a comic book, to quite good effect as well. When you even flip through, it even explains the special moves and the standard moves in comic book form. It is absolutely hilarious to see and to read. It's going to be very hard to find scans of this online, though. So, if you do buy a copy, try and make sure you have the book. It doesn't tell you all the moves. You're probably going to have to go to GameFAQs for that. Or you could try the very familiar quarter circle forward and punch, quarter circle back and punch. Pretty much that's the majority of the moves, other than tapping forward a bunch of times and a kick button, tapping forward a bunch of times and a punch button. Overall, pretty simplistic in the moves, but they don't always work every time. Matter of fact, I could usually only get my moves to work about 50% of the time, which for one of these knockoff fighting titles is actually pretty good, as sad as that is. So if you haven't noticed by now, the game is an uncontrollable mess. Most of the time, you could beat your opponent just by jumping around and hitting the medium punch button. I'm not kidding. Even when it comes down to the last boss of the game, how epic is that to jump around and hit the punch button? Usually you just wait for the time to run out and you win. I have literally played through the entire game in about 8 minutes. And I have beaten it with every character. And oh my god, was it ever a huge waste of my time. When you do beat the final boss, it's like it's a joke. Like Bones here, who had a machine gun the whole game, decided to give it up to play guitar. Or the purpley girl decided that she wants her own talk show. This is just ridiculous. In every sense of the word. Honestly, beating this game is a huge waste of your time. However, if you want a game that you could speedrun blindfolded for games done quick, then this is definitely your game. You could fly through it in no time and look like a pro. Or look really, really lame for beating this game blindfolded. Either way, it's up to you. If you go to pause the game does pause pretty well. However, if you hit the options button, you reset the game. So just take that into consideration. The playing also moves really, really fast. All the strikes are very, very quick. If you hold back, that's how you block, and you don't seem to take any damage when you're blocked whatsoever. Some of the special moves are very quick as well. This one guy that I think is trying to be Cyborg from Teen Titans, I'm honestly not sure. I actually had to pause it to see what he was turning into. I thought it was an airplane. Turns out it's a missile? It's just a joke, guys. I have no idea what's going on in this game. You can look at the bios of each person, and that's relatively neat to look at, but sort of useless as well. Matter of fact, this whole game is completely pointless to own. I'm not saying it's the worst fighting game on the Jag. Fighting against the computer is usually horrible, but fighting against a friend, it's actually rather playable. And that's usually about the best I can say about it. Overall here, guys, this game is expensive. You can't set up the button layouts the way you want to. And even if you did, it still wouldn't play any better because of it. Overall, I recommend taking a pass on Double Dragon 5. I really wish they would have gave us the beat 'em up that we really deserved on this system. But that's just my opinion. Thanks for watching. Hello, and if you like this video, please subscribe to me. I only have one more fighting game to go on the Atari Jag, so will it claim the top spot? Or will it go to another game? I guess we'll find out pretty soon. So, until then, thanks again, guys.